Have you ever noticed how easy it is to recognize when someone else is lying, but how difficult it is to catch yourself doing the exact same thing? What's strange is that the biggest lies in life are often not told to other people. They're told in private. They're repeated quietly inside your own mind. Sometimes it's the person who says they're happy in a relationship they stopped enjoying years ago. Sometimes it's the employee who keeps saying they hate their job while doing absolutely nothing to leave it. And sometimes it's the voice inside you that keeps insisting that everything is fine when deep down, something already feels wrong. Self-deception doesn't always look dramatic. In fact, it usually looks normal. That's why it's so easy to live with it for years without realizing what it's costing you. Human beings are surprisingly creative when it comes to avoiding uncomfortable truths. Not because they enjoy lying, but because reality can be emotionally expensive. Admitting that you chose the wrong career, trusted the wrong person, stayed too long, or ignored obvious signs can feel painful. So the mind creates softer explanations. It edits memories. It postpones difficult conclusions. It tells stories that feel easier to carry. And over time, those stories become familiar. If you've ever recognized yourself in these kinds of moments, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. These conversations aren't about judging people. They're about understanding the strange ways we all protect ourselves. Because sometimes the mind chooses comfort first, even when honesty would serve us better. One of the most common forms of self-deception happens when people confuse hope with evidence. They keep waiting for someone to change even though nothing has changed for years. They continue investing energy into situations that consistently disappoint them. They tell themselves that next month will be different, that one more chance will fix everything, that patience alone can solve problems that have never actually been addressed. Hope itself isn't the problem. Hope can be beautiful. The danger begins when hope becomes a substitute for reality. Because at that point, you're no longer responding to what is happening. You're responding to what you wish were happening. And those two things are often very different. Another reason people lie to themselves is because identity can become a prison. Imagine spending years seeing yourself as the reliable person, the strong person, the independent person, or the successful person. Eventually, those labels stop describing you and start controlling you. Suddenly, admitting exhaustion feels like failure. Asking for help feels embarrassing. Changing direction feels like betrayal. So people continue performing versions of themselves that no longer fit. They smile when they're overwhelmed. They say yes when they want to say no. They maintain images that others admire while quietly feeling disconnected from their own lives. Ironically, the more energy people spend protecting an identity, the less they understand who they actually are. Social life also rewards certain illusions. There are expectations everywhere. Expectations about success, relationships, age, money, and happiness. When everyone around you appears confident and fulfilled, it becomes tempting to hide your own doubts. Nobody wants to feel left behind. Nobody enjoys admitting uncertainty. So comparisons quietly influence what people believe about themselves. Someone may convince themselves they want a bigger house, a different lifestyle, or endless productivity, not because those things truly matter to them, but because they fear looking unsuccessful. And once enough people participate in the same performance, the performance itself begins to look like reality. What's fascinating is that self-deception rarely feels like lying. Most people aren't sitting in a room consciously deciding to ignore reality. The process is much more subtle. It happens through small excuses, selective attention, and convenient interpretations. You overlook comments that make you uncomfortable. You focus only on positive signs. You explain away behaviors that would concern you if they belonged to someone else. In many ways, the mind acts like a lawyer defending an existing belief rather than a scientist searching for the truth. And that's something almost everyone experiences. Intelligence doesn't make people immune to self-deception. Sometimes intelligent people simply become better at explaining their illusions. Then something interesting happens. Reality becomes harder to negotiate with. Maybe a relationship finally ends. Maybe burnout catches up with you. Maybe a dream you've defended for years no longer brings satisfaction. Those moments often feel painful, but they can also be strangely liberating. Because maintaining illusions requires energy. Constantly explaining away contradictions is exhausting. Pretending not to know what you already know creates tension that quietly follows you everywhere. That's why some people describe difficult truths as painful at first, but peaceful afterward. Once the resistance disappears, clarity begins to take its place. Interestingly, self-awareness doesn't mean becoming brutally honest in a harsh or unforgiving way. People sometimes imagine that truth must arrive like an attack. But growth usually looks much quieter than that. It sounds like admitting that you're tired. It looks like acknowledging that something isn't working anymore. It feels like allowing yourself to change your mind without shame. Real maturity isn't about never making mistakes. It's about refusing to spend years defending them. There's something deeply human about saying, "I believed this before, but I see things differently now." That isn't weakness. That's evidence that you're still capable of growing. Perhaps the greatest cost of lying to yourself is not the mistake itself. It's the amount of life that gets postponed. Dreams are delayed. Conversations are avoided. Decisions are endlessly postponed. Entire chapters remain unwritten because people keep waiting for certainty that never arrives. But life doesn't usually reward perfect timing. It rewards honesty, not brutal honesty, not cruel honesty. Just enough honesty to admit what you already know deep inside. And strangely enough, people often discover that reality wasn't as frightening as they imagined. The fear of the truth was heavier than the truth itself. Maybe that's why self-deception is so common. Not because people are foolish, but because they're human. We all protect ourselves in different ways. We all avoid certain truths from time to time. But peace rarely comes from winning arguments with yourself. It comes from no longer needing them. And perhaps one of the most courageous things a person can say is, "I've been pretending not to see this, and I'm finally ready to be honest about it." That simple moment can change the direction of an entire life. Thanks for spending these moments with me. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. And if this reflection spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Feel free to leave a comment. Share this video with someone who might need it, and give it a like if you enjoyed the conversation. Until next time.